Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello and welcome to mini episode 368 of Real Life Ghost Stories, and I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from the 6th of June 2024. And story number 1 comes from Miriam. There's something in the bathroom and it's creeping me out. I have 3 different stories that happened in grades 3 to 5. The first one happened at one school where I was doing an after school choir, and I just randomly started to feel hot, so I went to the bathroom. The upstairs one. When I walked into the bathroom, one of the sinks was already running. I thought nothing of it and washed my face. At that moment, one of the toilet lids fell down. The one in the last stall was the only toilet with the lid down. In that stall, I heard an eerie whispering. I ran out of the bathroom as fast as I could. The next 2 stories happened at a different school, and the second one didn't happen to me. It happened to my friends. They both said that they heard whimpering and crying and a doll hand sticking out of the biggest stall. And this happened when they were all alone in the upstairs bathroom. I didn't dare to see it for myself because I absolutely hate dolls. I still do. And the last story happened to me when I was in 5th grade. Forgetting all about what my friends saw, I went to the upstairs bathroom, alone. When I was washing my hands, I heard crying. I turned around and I saw it. A doll hand sticking out of the biggest stall. Stupid decision. I opened the stall. I saw a little girl wearing the school uniform. She had short brown hair with a little bow in it. She was holding a doll and crying. I rushed out of the bathroom and told everyone. Of course, no one believed me except my 2 friends who told me what they saw. I think there's also a ghost in my house. I have a couple of stories. The first story happened in my room, and it's happened so many times. I left my door closed but slightly ajar so my cats could get in. I want to be a writer when I grow up, so I worked on my stories 24/7. I'm a creepy kid, and yes, probably the one in my family and in my class who believes in ghosts. This was the first time it happened. I was working on one of my stories when I heard my door creak. I looked over and the door was wide open. I thought it was a cat, but my cats are not sneaky, and I would have seen a cat come in from where I was sitting. I walked over to my door and no one was there. I looked around upstairs, but nothing was up there. And I would have heard my cats go downstairs. They think no one can hear them. This happened many times. The next one is the reason that I'm terrified of going into my upstairs bathroom, especially at night. I woke up in the middle of the night having to go to the bathroom. For some reason the door was closed, and I heard the shower running, but the lights were still off. I should have known better, but instead made a stupid decision and opened the door. I saw a tall, pale woman with long black hair about to get into the shower. She screamed at me so loud, "Get out!" that I heard ringing in my ears. No one else in my family heard her because they were all sound asleep. I ran into my bedroom and locked the door. Well, Miriam, I'd be running into my bedroom and locking the door too, because there's no way that I want to see a tall, pale woman with long black hair about to get into my shower when she is not ordinarily meant to be in the house. That sounds truly terrifying. And I wonder if there are any other things that happen in your house. You know, I mean, obviously you've got cats knocking around. We love a cat, but they aren't necessarily paranormal. They seem to be living cats that you have knocking around your house. So I wonder if other things have happened around your house which would suggest that there might be something supernatural going on. Or if it was just those two isolated incidents. Are they connected? Did the woman open your door? And as for the haunted school bathroom cubicle, that is like something straight out of Japanese folklore. I have a vague memory, please correct me if I'm wrong, of a couple of stories of Japanese folklore, Japanese ghost stories and urban legends being like centered around toilet cubicles in schools. And I mean, they are a pretty creepy place because they're always sort of a little bit scruffy, do you know what I mean? They're quite barren, they're quite bare. It's all generally tiled and a bit grim. So not really somewhere where you'd want to be seeing the ghost of a small child holding a doll. I am glad that your two friends believed you. You know what I mean? I'm glad that you had your two friends to confide in and have that conversation with, because that would be a very lonely thing to carry on your own and have nobody believe you. And schools are funny places, you know. For a lot of kids, school is like their whole life. You know, it's incredibly important. You spend so much time there. You spend more time there than you do at home sometimes. So it never really shocks me when schools are said to be haunted. Although that does not mean that I would want to actively see anything. It just never shocks me. And story number 2 comes from Hailey. Now, Hailey's story is from quite a long time ago and I missed it. And I apologise. Every so often I do miss a story, whether it's I label it wrong or I send it to the wrong folder or I forget to label it at all. I try and go through my emails quite regularly to find ones that have fallen by the wayside or have gone in the wrong direction. But this one was one that got away. So Hailey, I apologise. I did miss your story, but here it is now. I wrote to you a while back. My story was the one about the picture of my mom and her late friend being printed from our digital printer when the photo was taken on a disposable film camera. Since then, I've had a few more spooky experiences myself. My first story is about my dog, because I know you love stories about pets returning after they pass. My dog's name was Jack. Jack lived until he was 18 years old. I am now 19 and I don't remember my life before Jack. We were soulmates in the most unique way. Having to let go of him was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. And I'm already tearing up as I write this. Towards the end of Jack's life, as you could imagine, he was not very keen on personal hygiene maintenance, such as getting his teeth brushed, clipping his toenails, getting baths, etc., etc. Due to him not letting us cut his nails anymore, his little footsteps made a click, 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 click sound on our hardwood floors. Me, as well as my mom and dad, still on occasion hear his footsteps throughout the night. My mom told me that about a week after Jack passed, she had a dream that he came to visit her. He was healthy in this dream, and his fur was no longer grey around his face. Due to his age, he was unable to jump up on the furniture, so we had to buy him a little set of stairs to use to go to bed. My mom had said that in her dream, Jack was able to jump up on the bed, and she felt the warmth from his body on her feet. This gave us both a sense of comfort that Jack was no longer existing in pain, that in the afterlife his issues went away and he was able to be comfortable. When I get ready in the mornings, I do my hair and makeup at the bathroom sink, and Jack would always stand behind me and watch me. This led to me tripping over him several times throughout his life. A month or two after Jack passed, I was getting ready one morning and felt his familiar presence behind me. But it didn't really register that he wasn't actually there, as I was so used to him being behind me. Since I had felt his presence, when I went to turn around, as usual, I stopped mid-step so as not to trip over him. But he wasn't there. I wholeheartedly believe that Jack was with me that morning, as that has only happened once since he passed. I would like to believe that Jack is still with us through little experiences like this, and I hope that he chooses to stay here. I miss him so much. My second story is not nearly as comforting as the first. My apologies. I am a volunteer firefighter, and with this means a lot of my free time is spent at the station, and sometimes alone. We have a late crew member who we'll call Jason, who lost his life on a call. His gear is stowed in our downstairs bingo hall, and his locker in the engine bay was turned into a memorial for him. There were always rumours floating around that Jason haunted the 150-year-old station, but I never believed it, as I hadn't personally experienced anything. Our fire hall had been a bar before it was our station, and rumour has it that many a fight broke out. Us being a small town, a majority of the people here carry concealed weapons. It's all speculation and hearsay, but I have heard that people had been injured during said fights in our station when it was a bar. So it's hard to tell if the spooky goings-on are residual energy, Jason, both, or someone we are unaware of. The first experience I had was the feeling of being watched in the station while being there alone. Looking back over your shoulder to make sure nothing was lurking in the corner or in the shadows. This progressed into me running when I had to turn the lights off at night because the feeling was just so unsettling. As conveniently as possible, the light switch for the kitchen is on the opposite wall of the door, about 30 feet away. I think this is where the whole running from the darkness thing started for me. The second experience I had was the footsteps. I was at the station alone one evening and I was in the lounge, probably scrolling through TikTok or playing video games when I first heard them. Our upstairs bingo hall, the lounge, a bathroom and the chief's office are the only rooms on the second floor. The door to the lounge was shut, and I had heard someone walking through the bingo hall towards the lounge. The back entrance of the station is a door that leads to a staircase leading up to the chief's office, then the bingo hall, and you have to walk through the bingo hall to get to the lounge. It wasn't uncommon for the chief or the captain to use this entrance. When I had heard the footsteps, I waited a few moments for someone to walk into the lounge, but to no avail. I then texted our group chat, "Who's here?" And everyone explained that they weren't there. Needless to say, I noped the fuck out of there. The third experience I had were the lights being turned on and off and the doors being opened and closed. 3 of us were at the station the first time I had this experience. We were all up in the lounge and had decided to go down to the kitchen to see what we could have for a late night snack. The other 2 had gone downstairs to the kitchen, and I had stayed upstairs to use the restroom. When I had left the lounge, I know for a fact that I turned the lights off and shut the door, as I do this religiously everywhere I go. The 3 of us go down and have our snack, and we came back up to the lounge. The door was open. I turned back and I said, "Who was up here? Who opened the door?" When I realised that I was the last one upstairs and I was with the other 2 people ever since. No one had gone back upstairs. No one had even left the kitchen. I brushed it off. Maybe it was a draft. I didn't want to scare the other 2. The fourth experience, and the most disturbing experience, was the whistling. I don't even know how to describe it. It wasn't sing-songy, but it wasn't one solid note either. I was the only one at the station, and I was up in the lounge, as usual, and heard the whistling coming from downstairs. I immediately broke into a cold sweat and my body was covered in goosebumps. Part 2 of me noping the absolute fuck out of there. When I got to my car, I texted the group chat, "Please tell me that someone is fucking with me." And again, no one had a single clue what I was talking about. I remember replying, "Well, Jason can whistle, I'm going home." And getting a bunch of "oh hell no's" and "you're fucking kidding." No, I'm absolutely not fucking kidding. Very long story short, I do not stay in that station after dark by myself anymore, as I prefer my pants dry. We have all discussed our experiences and have come to the conclusion that while none of us are too chicken to run headfirst into a burning building, we are all too chicken to conduct a ghost hunt. If we do ever decide to grow a pair and conduct a ghost hunt, however, do expect another email. Hailey, I'm very glad that you started with a nice dog story, because we all love a nice dog story. I know that it's terrible to lose an animal that you feel like was your soulmate. And people listening who either have an animal that is their soulmate or have had an animal that was their soulmate will be nodding sagely, being like, yes, I totally understand how that feels. And it's horrible to lose that soulmate. It is reassuring and beautiful that you and your mum and your dad have heard the little clicky footsteps of Jack's little paws and have also had experiences of feeling his presence and having visitation dreams. We love it. We love to see it. Less loving the haunted fire station. You know, we've got a couple of stories in over the years about haunted fire stations, and it seems like a lot of shit goes down in fire stations, you know? And it equally sounds like this fire station has a lot of energy from its previous life as a bar where it was a bit feisty and rowdy and there were fights and shit went down, and probably some clandestine shit went down that people kind of whisper about and go, oh, I heard that happened here, you know? And that sounds like in that building a sort of steady stream of stuff that was happening. So footsteps, like a residual energy maybe, and then it was the door opening, and then it was the whistling. Sounds like something is there that's sort of going about its own business. So maybe it is the spirit or the energy of Jason that is doing its routine, doing his routine that he had done before he prematurely lost his life. Maybe it's the residual energy of somebody who used to frequent the bar, who used to own the bar. And essentially it doesn't make it any easier, you know? And I love the fact that you guys can run into burning buildings head first. But a ghost hunt, that's a no-go. And I get that. I understand it.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, what the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey, it's Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad. High quality fashion without the price tag. Say hello to Quince. I'm snagging high-end essentials like cozy cashmere sweaters, sleek leather jackets, fine jewelry, and so much more. With Quince being 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And they partner with factories that prioritize safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing. I love that. Luxury quality within reach. Go to quince.com/style to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. Quince.com/style.
And story number 3 comes from Jade. For background, I was a visionary child in the Catholic Church growing up. I spoke at pulpits, was a Sunday school teacher, I was part of the RCIA, the choir, was a youth minister, and even cleaned the church on Saturdays. I was devout. But I was also, as my family calls it, spiritually gifted. I had visions as a child that my church supported. I saw the dead all the time. I could see the future, in many cases. Famous predictions included 9/11. I can read people the moment I meet them, all kinds of stuff. When I was 18 in the year 2000, my church sent me to Rome for World Youth Day. I experienced a great many moments of learning and clarity and some great disgust with the church as a whole. It was world-changing for me. After Italy, I went to visit some family in England in their 120-year-old home. Ghosts in their house aside, I met 2 of them. One day, my cousin offered to take me to Stonehenge. He thought I would find it fascinating. It was. However, I wasn't as touched by it as I thought I would be, and my cousin registered that lack of connection. Then he took me to Avebury. Avebury is the most poignant and seared in my soul memory that I have, because it connected me to the earth and to time and to the universe. If you've never been, Avebury is a large henge, like Stonehenge, in that it's megalithic stones in a circle with a space for circumambulation and has an avenue of stones leading up to it. It's so large that there's a little centre in it with 2 buildings, and sheep graze among the stones. What was so powerful about the stones is that they each had their own energies in their associations to me. One was the mother stone, and the energy it gave off was loving and firm. Another, the father stone. Another, the rabbit stone, which to me felt connected to the moon. Each stone had its own energy. And then there was the slave's stone. The moment I touched it, I heard clanging chains, smelled burning flesh, sweat and pain shot up my arm. I saw people pulling these stones over wooden rollers to get them to their location. I felt heat, and my lungs felt filled with dust. This all happened within moments, and my cousin ran over as he saw something was going on. When I pulled my hand away, I began to sob, because I felt like I'd crossed time to witness this, and to bear witness to how this henge was made. Do I know if this is the technique that was used there? No idea. Do I know if enslaved people were used? No idea. But that's what the stone told me. It may seem like such a moment wouldn't be counted amongst my positive spiritual experiences, but it is. It changed me. From that point, I had already begun to be repulsed by the church during my Italy trip. From that point, though, my mind opened a door, somehow, into somewhere, and I've never looked back. My experience on this earth is one that has involved demons, exorcisms. I've performed them, not experienced one, having dead people randomly seek me out for help or for recognition, and many other things. These gifts run in my family on my mom's side. I know he has passed, but in a recent episode I listened to, Dan talked about not charging for spiritual services. And it's funny because that has always been a rule in my line. We do not charge for the gifts we have been given. If people simply must express gratitude, we always tell them to donate to charity or pay it forward in some other way. Anyway, just thought I'd share. And just to add, most of the dead that linger aren't malevolent. They're often just lost or sad. Jade, that is so fascinating, because I've always wondered, what happens to people who are intuitive or who have that thing where they can touch objects and feel their past or whatever. I was going to say ornithology. That's the study of birds. What do I mean? I mean psychometry, which is not even remotely close to ornithology. It doesn't even, just listen. My brain is doing all sorts of crazy things at the moment. Ornithology, it is not. Psychometry, it is. And look, admittedly, I know nothing about Stonehenge or Avebury in terms of the way that they were created or theories around how they were created. But I do find it fascinating that you touched that stone and that was what it communicated to you. And I often think that people who have the gift of psychometry, it must be really difficult, because you never know when you're going to experience something or come across something that is going to evoke really strong emotions in you, and I would find that really difficult. Also, your mention of World Youth Day, whoa, that brought me right back to my university years. I never went to World Youth Day, but I knew a lot of people that did, and that's a name I haven't heard in some time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Miriam, Hailey and Jade for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story came from the 6th of June 2024. And if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month, you get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
Even when we're on a budget, we still deserve nice things. Quince is a place to scoop up stunning high-end goods for 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They have buttery soft cashmere sweaters starting at $50, luxurious Italian leather bags, and so much more. Plus, Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing. Get the high-end goods you'll love without the high price tag with Quince. Go to quince.com/style for free shipping and 365-day returns.